Tatsuro Taira is only 24 years old, and this is his second UFC main event. He is inches away from a top 5 ranking in the world, but he has to get through Brandon Royval, a battle-tested, tried and true, absolute dog. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 98 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. Before we talk about UFC Vegas 98, let's spend 30 seconds and talk about UFC 307. Overall, this is a pretty good fight card. Alex Pereira reminded everybody why he is the UFC's biggest draw. He was down in that fight, and he moved forward. He plotted. He touched up, and ultimately, he sliced and diced Khalil Rountree's face and took over that fight to win by finish. This Home Alone face thumbnail is the thumbnail for the recap video. I filmed it immediately following the event. I recap every single fight, all of my thoughts on the wild judging and the wild refereeing that happened last night in Salt Lake City. If you want to check out that video, do so now. Run through it, then come back here and watch this video. Overall, UFC 307 was wildly successful. I went 11-1 on picks, and the only reason I got a pick wrong is because Raquel Pennington got screwed out of a title defense. The bets did well also, a 29% ROI. If you don't know what ROI is, it's return on investment. It's the single most important statistic when you're looking at bets and if they were successful or not. Anybody can win a unit when they spend 30 units, but if you spend just a few units like I do, and you find your spots, and you focus, and you dial in, and you bring back consistent, profitable cards, well, then you're the man, and I'm the man, baby. I am going to gloat a little bit. That was an objectively great card for me. I'm up money 6 of the last 7 cards. The only card I didn't make money on was UFC Paris, and that thing was a train wreck. But UFC 307 was very good to me. And I did a lot more underdog and plus money bets than you would normally see from Big Ange. We had Court McGee at plus 195. I had 2 different bets on Roman Dolidze at plus money. This card, UFC Vegas 98, is going to be more of the same. A whole bunch of underdog spots that I like. Also some obvious, pretty straightforward favorites. If you do want to unlock all the picks, the bets, the round line leans, artificial intelligence, tools, everything for UFC Vegas 98, you know where to go. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. If you just watch this video for the free Sunday morning entertainment, well, I appreciate you. If you haven't clicked subscribe, do it. We are inches away from 30,000 subscribers. Inches. It's like 20 more of you. I appreciate every last one of you, genuinely. And before I do the full sales pitch, here's a thumbnail for what could quite literally be the greatest video we have ever put out on this channel. Jacob consistently puts out phenomenal content. His Lock of the Week edits are unbelievable. When he was doing Lock of the Week skits, those were unbelievable. The creativity was through the roof. This is a very different video. I'll give you a quick summary and then you can watch it. My neighbor decided he wanted to be my troll. He made an alt account and he would hop into the live streams and say some pretty wild stuff to me, and everybody was in on it. And this video is me discovering that that's what was going on. It's a great, very well done video. I'm wildly proud of it, and I didn't even make it. I provided all the content, and then the editor put that together. So check this video out. If I put this ahead of the full-blown sales pitch, then you know how important this video is to me. This thing, I am not exaggerating. This video should have 100,000 views. That is how high quality of a video it is. And if you have never seen True Detective, it's got a True Detective vibe to it. Check out that damn video. Then go to WeWantPicks.com. Unlock all the tools, the picks, the bets, the round line leans, and more. Listen, I talked about being up 6 of the last 7 cards. That's not by accident. You don't just accidentally have a wildly successful year, which is what we've been having. People want to point out one bet that missed, but the reality is, it has been a very good year for Big Ange. Jakey Boy was on a wild heater before missing a card or 2. But overall, We Want Picks is delivering the best tools on the planet, some of the best picks on the planet, some of the best bets on the planet, and it's all freaking $10. One of those tools is the data analyzer. You can do your own research. You can filter all the data that you want. You can apply those filters. You can see them plotted out on a chart, and then you can click the plot points to watch the actual tape itself and do your own tape study. You'll also have access to the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to have access to the Prop Hunter, a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. A DraftKings optimizer that will build DraftKings fantasy lineups for you with just a few clicks of the button, and it is preloaded with the best ownership projections on planet Earth. Here are the numbers from UFC 307. We destroyed the competition. The competition are these giant fantasy companies that this is their only job, and they still can't keep up with us for only $10 a month. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. You'll unlock everything you could ever want or need for an entire month. This 30-day span is going to include UFC 308, a phenomenal pay-per-view, 2 unbelievable fight nights, and then the UFC Edmonton card with the return of Amir Albazi. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. Not only is it a wild way to support us, but you're going to get the greatest value in this space. Objectively, you will never find better value. Let's go ahead and break this card down. This is a pretty good card. As far as fight nights in the Apex are concerned, this is a good card. We've got a lot of young prospects. We have a phenomenal main event that matters very much for the division. I'm actually looking forward to it. We got Clayton Carpenter opening up the UFC Vegas 98 fight card. He's going to be taking on Lucas Rocha. And while you will see that their records are wild, undefeated, young stud Clayton Carpenter, 17-1 Lucas Rocha, we have a pretty big favorite. Clayton Carpenter is almost a 2-1 favorite here, and I actually get it. Clayton Carpenter is a slick grappler. He'll take some wild chances hunting for submissions. He's very fast. He will push a pace. He rushes forward, immediately sets the tone for the fight. He's always hunting for a finish. And even though he is only 7-0 as a professional MMA fighter, he has been competing since he was a teenager, and he's been traveling the world. He's coming off a dominant win in that UFC debut where the grappling was an absolute showcase and he was like an 8th layer of skin. He's taking on Lucas Rocha. This guy's a solid striker. He's got great volume, good body work. He stays busy. He pressures forward. He has almost no regard for what comes back his way. Many times, what comes back his way is a takedown, though, because of how upright he stands. If he is taken down, he's got good enough BJJ to defend and decent enough scramble skills to stand back up. He is making his UFC debut after a successful bid on the Contender Series, and even though Clayton has a third almost of the experience of Lucas, he's a -170 favorite, and I think that makes sense. Sometimes 1 + 1 = 2. Clayton Carpenter is a nasty wrestler with very good grappling. Lucas Rocha can be taken down. Clayton Carpenter's offensive wrestling plus Lucas Rocha's lack of defensive wrestling equals a Clayton Carpenter win. It's going to be a pretty straightforward pick. Honestly, there's not much to expand on there. Takedowns will be there, and then he'll win. And that -170 is not going to last long, so hop on it now. Then we have another wrestler in Danny Argueta. He'll be taking on Cody Haddon, another UFC debut. But this time, we got the odds the other way around. The UFC newcomer is the massive favorite. Dan Argueta is a short, stocky wrestler. He'll come across that cage, he'll wrap up your body, and he will muscle you to the ground. He's got good pressure. He leaves almost no space for you to work up when he gets you to the ground. He's got a single game plan. There's nothing complicated about what he's looking to do. Get you to the ground, pound away. He's coming off that loss to Jin Matsumoto, where he came out with a big overhand, instantly got the takedown. In fact, he had 9 takedowns in that fight. And he looked really good until he let his head hang a little too long and he ended up getting guillotined. He's taking on Cody Haddon. This guy's a very solid prospect. His lone loss comes to former title challenger Steve Erceg. Cody's a busy fighter. He sets an insane pace and he does not slow down. He's got clean boxing where he throws in combinations. He does a great job working the body. He's also a slick grappler on his own right. He's busy on top and bottom. If he's on top, he's raining down strikes. If he's on bottom, he's creative, he's creating scrambles, and he's working so that you can never settle in. Cody's a 2-1 favorite in this fight. He's a UFC debut. And I know we have seen a lot of UFC debuts struggle a little bit, let alone a UFC debut against a guy who has had success at the UFC level. And I'm a big Argueta fan. I love his ability to set a wrestling pace. But I am torn in this matchup. My gut was like, I got to go Argueta. He's a guy you can trust. He'll stick to a game plan. Look what he did to Ronnie Lawrence. Especially, he did look good in the Jin Matsumoto fight before he got caught in that guillotine. But I do worry that Cody might actually be the real deal. He's got the scramble skills, and those could exhaust and frustrate Dan Argueta. So I'm going to have to lean towards the prospect. Dan's had a little bit of bad luck recently. I'll be full rooting for Dan Argueta, and I'm not betting on this fight. I'm not betting on a 2-1 UFC debut, and I don't bet on fighters that I don't think win. I know there's a whole betting strategy out there where, oh, the value's good. I don't think this guy wins, but the value's good. And I get it. And I know I'm saying that in a mocking tone, but I don't bet on people that I don't think win. Every single bet that I place, I think will win. I'm also not a guy that'll bet like so-and-so to win in the first round and that same person to win in the second round. Obviously, one of those bets is going to lose. Every single bet that I put on the board can win and I think does win. That's why I place it. So I'm not a big chaser kind of guy. And this whole rant is to basically say, I think Dan Argueta is a good dog, but I don't even know if I trust him to win a round. So we're going to leave it alone, not spend any money here. And if you're new to betting on MMA, let me give you just a warning. First of all, wildly volatile. It's a very volatile sport to bet on. Second of all, those 29 leg parlays that you want to chase because you can get your $5 can turn into $3,000. I get it. I get the excitement. And you know what? Maybe do one. But that's not a strategy. That's a hope and a prayer. That's a lotto ticket. That's not a strategy. Slow and steady wins the pace. If you become a premium member, you'll see my bets. They're slow and steady. And I'm up more consistently than Jacob is. Jacob makes more money than I do because when he's up big. So take a look at both of us. Maybe you love his style more than mine. I get it. His is way more exciting. And when he's up, he's up. If you're a slow and steady guy, here you go. You want a little more aggression? Hey, Ange, what's with all these minus money bets? You got Jakey boy. And there's a mixed bag there. But welcome to the betting world if you are new here. I mean, we're growing like crazy. So a bunch of you do not bet on fights and have not, and you're about to. So just know, shit's volatile. It's volatile. Then we have the latest addition to this card. We got Chris Barnett taking on Junior Tafa. And Chris Barnett, I mean, that's not a great picture of a professional athlete. These are, let me remind you, these are professional athletes. And not like baseball, not golf professional athletes. These are supposed to be the most dangerous men on the planet. The most physically fit goddess of men and women who can punch their way through doors and save you from a village. Where the hell am I going with that? Whatever. These are supposed to be physical specimen heroes. I mean, maybe there's a better picture we could have used. Why are you looking at me like that, dude? Chill. Shit. We got Chris Barnett coming back after 2 years away. He doesn't look like it, and I just railroaded him a little bit, but he is wildly athletic. Shockingly dynamic. This dude's jumping, flipping, swirling. He's reminded people many times over how athletic he actually is. He has some real power. He can manage to land strikes, even though he has the shorter reach in almost every fight that he's in. His problem is he sort of comes easy to him, right? He's just naturally gifted. We talk about people like when I picked and bet on Court McGee, we talked about he's not naturally gifted. He had to earn every single thing that he has, which is why he's got some dog in him. Chris Barnett's kind of the opposite. He is very naturally gifted. He just woke up one day and could do flips and swirls and had power. The problem is sometimes when you have those natural gifts, you don't work as hard as you should. And that's sort of been the story of Chris's career. A wild prospect, ton of fun, very marketable guy because he's really funny, great personality, shockingly athletic for the build. But he didn't really take his career so seriously that he turned into somebody. So you don't always know what you're going to get with this guy, but when he's on, he can almost do anything he wants out there. He hasn't been back in 2 full years, but he is stepping back up. And if he's moving forward, if he's dictating, he'll do really well. If he's backing up, he doesn't do as well backing up. He's taking on Junior Tafa. Junior Tafa is a pretty good kickboxer. He's got good footwork, a willingness to engage. He's Justin Tafa's younger brother, but he's built very differently. Justin Tafa, a little closer to Chris Barnett's build. Junior Tafa is much taller, leaner. I don't think he has that same power as Justin, but he's got a good enough chin. He's a little faster, a little more athletic than his older brother. The problem is his takedown defense lacks. And there's an obviously big hole to exploit there. And that was like, no diddy. Let's keep this. The big hole I'm talking about is his ability to defend, the hole in his skill set. Not his anus. Anyway, he's coming off that submission loss to Walter Walker where he didn't even tap. He just screamed. Then he tried to deny it, but it's like, nah, bro, you screamed your ass off. Like, that has to be it. Why are you screaming? That's it. Ref stopped it. You got to take it. When this fight was first announced, flying through the internet, were the odds that Junior Tafa was a plus 400 dog. That was flying through the internet. People are sending it to me left and right. It's in our Discord. It's on the Twitter. I ran to Bet Online. That's who we use. I get 25 DMs a week. Hey, you live in Texas. Who do you use to bet? We use Bet Online. It's an offshore sports book, perfectly legal. You got to deal with some bullshit, like you got to deposit with crypto and stuff, but they're going to give you the best odds, the earliest odds, and the most amount of prop bets. For UFC betting, nobody compares, at least in the offshore sportsbook world. And if you go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, use our link to sign up, I'll send you $50. Anyway, let me back up. I ran to Bet Online. I was like, holy shit, I got to bet on Junior Tafa here. I get there, dude's minus 270. I don't know what the hell that was floating around. Honestly, a lot of these, if you check out these odd tracking websites and Twitter accounts and all that stuff, some of them are just scraping data off a website. Some of them have APIs. APIs are expensive, so a lot of them don't have APIs. Some of them are just scraping data. And sometimes it's just going to be wrong. And it had to have been wrong. It had to have been. It had to have been. If you're watching this and you bet on Junior Tafa at plus 400, let me know. And then go to the Discord and share the ticket so I can believe you. Because you can't believe these comment sections nowadays. You people are wild. Because there's no way. That had to have been just an error, right? Because Junior Tafa should be the favorite. Should have always been the favorite. He's a minus 270 favorite. That might be a little too wide, but he should have always been the favorite. He's such a good kickboxer. Chris Barnett hasn't fought in 2 years. He's only getting older. Being able to do the flips and the swirls slows down very dramatically after 35. So while Chris Barnett has personality for days, I spent a bunch of time with him in Turkey, actually. If you didn't know, you're new here, I managed professional fighters for a very long time. I took a bunch of them to Turkey to fight for the XFC at the time. We went over there. It was actually, it was incredible. It wasn't Turkey. It was the island of Cyprus. It's half Turkey, half Greece. Anyway, he was on that card. He was the XFC's sort of biggest star at the time. Spent a bunch of time with him that week. Couldn't be nicer. Couldn't be funnier. Super cool dude. Like, Chris Barnett's awesome to hang out with. I don't think he wins this fight, though, unfortunately. Junior Tafa should be able to get it done. If Chris came forward like in Nurmagomedov, we got a whole different world, but he's not going to. He's just going to get pieced up on the feet, and ultimately we're going to see that layoff, probably a little bit of ring rust. Then we have Themba Gorimbo taking on the always exciting Niko Price. Niko Price is another guy that I spent a little bit of time with, but this was years ago, long before he was ever in the UFC or even like a full-blown UFC prospect. I was living in Cape Coral, Florida. He's from Cape Coral, Florida. Just did a little bit of training here and there. I didn't know anything about him other than the coach was like, hey, you're a good wrestler. Wrestle with this kid. Let me know what you think. And he was super young. This is like over 10 years ago. And at the time, it's like, wow, he's pretty good. And he still is. And Niko Price is a tough dude. He showed up into the UFC. Actually, I got him a Bellator offer. Bellator gave me a contract. We made an offer. He ended up hurting his shoulder, so he didn't sign that offer. Signs with the UFC a little bit later. Then he has, like, the burst onto the scene was incredible. The finishes. He's got multiple finishes off his back. The guy is a human highlight reel. He's incredibly fun. He's got a willingness to put himself in harm's way for the fans, and you will always have a job with the UFC if you have the ability to entertain the fans. He's got solid striking, very good submissions. I mentioned the 2 knockouts off of his back. He's a blast to watch. He can beat anybody on any day with just sheer determination, will, and wildness. But he can also lose to anyone because he is willing to just have some fun. He's willing to chin it out. He's coming off that underdog win over Alex Morono, who's also on this card, where the takedowns got it done. He's taking on Themba Gorimbo. This guy's a distant striker. He'll manage range really well and pick his shots. He is very long for this weight class. He uses that length to keep you at bay. He's typically a counter striker, but he will charge forward when he sees his openings. He has solid takedown defense where he widens his base and he makes his opponents carry his weight. He also has solid offensive takedowns with 10 in 4 UFC fights. He's coming off that dominant grappling win over world champion Ramiz Brahimaj. Picking against Niko Price is always the easiest and the hardest thing to do. It's easy because on paper, he should lose pretty much every fight that he's in. He's almost never the more skilled, the more technical guy. And if he just stuck to boring game plans, he actually would have a lot more wins. But it's hard to pick against him because the guy has zero quit in him whatsoever. He's an unpredictable dog. He's the exact type of person the UFC wants on the roster and the exact type of person that makes these fight nights fun to watch. You get a couple of Niko Price-style fighters on a fight night, and you're like, that was a fun card. Because the guy's going to go out there and do whatever the hell he's going to do. And entertainment-wise, that's a ton of fun. I got to pick winners, though. So while Niko could squeeze in here and pull off the upset, like he did in his last fight, I do think Themba's going to get it done. Because Themba is a good combination of technical, slow pace, but also can sprint into action when he needs to, can move forward if he needs to. He can wrestle, he can strike. I think Themba's just the overall better fighter, and I think he gets it done. So Themba is going to be the pick here. But man, picking against Niko Price is not an easy thing to do. Like I said, that dude can just show up and just absolutely look phenomenal. Then come out the next time and Robbie Lawler puts him away in a retirement fight. Then we have a battle of the grapplers. We have wrestler Jonathan Pearce taking on jiu-jitsu nerd Pat Sabatini. And those are two different things. Jonathan Pearce going to move forward, get the takedowns. Pat Sabatini's going to hang out like this. Get in my guard, boy. Actually, he doesn't talk like that. He is from Philadelphia. We'll talk about Jonathan Pearce first. This guy's a very good wrestler. He sets an incredible wrestling pace. He'll set a striking pace as well, but he's going to start diving at legs. The takedowns are decent. The BJJ is very good. He averages more than 5 takedowns per fight, and the accuracy is at 50%. And that 50% seems low, and it is kind of low. But to get 5 takedowns a fight at 50% clip, that's actually kind of an impressive combination there. As soon as he gets his takedowns, he's striking. He's immediately looking for a TKO instead of a submission. In 20 fights, he has only been to a decision 4 times. He leaves it all out there. It's obvious when you see that pace. He's very fun to watch. He has a take one to give one style in the striking. He is coming off that decision loss, though, to David Onama, where he had 5 takedowns. That's a shit ton. But he missed 9. Ultimately, the judges were like, not enough, pal. Sorry. Taking on Patty Sabs. Pat Sabatini, dangerous grappler. Very good wrestling. Solid pressure when on top. His grappling is incredible. He's always live for a submission. He's got technical striking. It is a little bit stiff. He can be hittable, and I think we can call him chinny at this point, right? We watched Damon Jackson smack him around. We watched Diego Lopez get it done. When he's on, though, he's averaging almost 4 takedowns per fight, getting hit with fewer than 2 significant strikes. And he is coming off that loss to Diego Lopez, though, which it is aging well because Diego Lopez is very, very good. And at one point in time, Pat Sabatini was a phenomenal prospect. He kind of still is, though. He just hasn't improved. Like, he was always like, wow, this guy's good and can be somebody. And that skill set that he had 3 years ago, whatever it was when he came to the UFC, is the exact same skill set he still has, which is great. That was a great skill set. But haven't seen anything added to it. He's not a better striker than he was 3 years ago. He's not a better wrestler than he was 3 years ago. I don't know if he's better at jiu-jitsu than he was 3 years ago because we haven't seen a lot of it recently. But Pat Sabatini is wildly dangerous. We saw it. Go check out, I think it was his second UFC fight. Gets dropped bad. Almost knocked out. His opponent comes charging forward, looking to strike on the ground. Pat immediately sucks up. I believe it was a heel hook. And just bink, bonk, won that fight. Just shows you how dangerous he is. This is a different type of fight, though. This is going to be the first fight in a while where we're going to see somebody bring the grappling to Pat, and I think Jonathan Pearce wins this fight. I think the nonstop wrestling pressure and just the general awareness of what's happening with the jiu-jitsu will be enough for Jonathan Pearce to win. I also think he can have some success on the feet. Pat Sabatini's got technical striking. It is technical. It's not sloppy. It's not like head down nonsense. But he doesn't really move his head. He's not super comfortable with it. And while Jonathan Pearce is by no means a phenomenal striker, he will just move forward and just wrestle, wrestle. So unless he gets caught in something like he did against Joanderson Brito, Jonathan Pearce should win this fight. I actually threw a little bit of a half a unit on him at -131. Jacob told me, Jacob was Pat Sabatini's biggest supporter forever. Then he started to get a little frustrated with that whole fight camp when none of their striking was any good. But Jacob saw my bet on Jonathan Pearce and said, dude, that's a bad bet. Pat Sabatini wins this fight. Jonathan Pearce is going to get subbed. So we'll see. Hopefully he's wrong because I already bet. So there's that. Then we got CJ Vergara taking on a wild prospect in Ramazan Temirov. And if you do your research, some places have him listed as Ramazanbek. But UFC has him as Ramazan. So we're sticking with that because it's much easier to say. This should be a banger. This should be an absolute banger. Both these guys willing to just full speed fight. Full speed for the whole fight. Just not even take a breath to relax. The cardio on both of the sides are incredible. The pace on both sides are incredible. The skill set on both sides are very, very good. This is going to be potentially fight of the night. I'm just expecting just like a cartoon with the dust shadows. Like, boom, 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 boom. Just these guys all over the place going crazy. This should be a very, very fun fight. CJ Vergara has always been fun. A high-pressure striker. Solid forward motion. He's got clean boxing, solid knees. He likes to fight inside the pocket where he can use his clinch work, showcase some of that power. He's a never-say-die guy. And while he has no recorded takedowns in the UFC, his BJJ is pretty good, and so are his scramble skills. He is coming off that loss to Asu Amabayev where he was taken down 9 times. But you don't get taken down 9 times if you didn't get up 8. And I always like to point that out. Getting a ton of takedowns means that you can shoot a takedown. It also means you either don't have control or your opponent has wild scramble skills. And CJ Vergara has very, very good scramble skills. He's taken on Ramazan Temirov. Lightning fast guy. Lightning fast. You go watch his highlight reels, you think they're in fast forward. They're not. He's got little baby legs, but he's got some very real power. He's incredibly fast. He has no issues marching forward to find that knockout. He is creative on his feet. He'll mix in powerful overhand, spinning back fists, straight kicks, whatever. He's just out there moving forward, throwing whatever he can throw. You're not going to see much in the way of wrestling, though. The takedown defense looks decent, but there's not a ton of footage of him defending takedowns or shooting takedowns. He does have some dog in him, and it doesn't take an enormous amount of tape study to see him getting rocked but pushing through. We've also seen CJ Vergara do that. CJ Vergara was almost finished a few fights ago and pushed. He literally ran, full sprinted, ran around the cage to regain his composure, and he came back and won. 2 busy guys that have dog in them. UFC debuts are always tricky, especially when they're fighting established UFC veterans like CJ Vergara, but Temirov seems different. He has confidence. He has the experience. We've seen him push through adversity, and I think he's going to get the win. CJ is not an easy debut. But if Temirov connects, even half as well as Daniel Lacerda did, he's going to close it out. CJ will not be able to run around the cage to survive. Temirov is going to be the pick. I'm probably going to wait for prop bets before laying out any money or anything like that. But CJ Vergara, I always love watching that guy fight. And I do wish this would be a little closer so I could wait for that plus 3.5 because there'll probably be good value on that. Then we have the featured prelim of the evening. We have Chidi Njokuani taking on Jared Gooden. This should be a very fun fight as well. Jared Gooden is only 30 years old. That is not a typo. He's been in the UFC for a little while. He's actually been in the UFC, got cut, and then came back to the UFC. He seems like a guy that's like, oh, he's 40, right? He was here, had some success. He's got a little older. No, he's 30. And he's just putting things together. And I know I said together, like I'm from Minnesota. But I'm also filming this on, 3 hours sleep? If you watch the recap video, well, that was filmed at 2:30 in the morning and then edited and uploaded, and now we're doing this. Thank God for prepared Ange. And I went 11-1 last week, so gives you a little bit of pep in your step the next day, breaking down the next card. We got Chidi Njokuani, very good striker. He's got speed, power, solid distance control. He's not a high-volume guy, but he sticks and moves really well. His feet are never really in the same place for long, and people have a hard time getting to him. If you are able to get inside the reach and work your way to his legs, you can have some success with the takedowns. He's coming off that win over Reese McKee, where he looked great, and he threw more leg kicks than we have ever seen him throw. And if you look at the scorecards, and he didn't see the fight, those were bullshit. He won very clearly. Like, very clearly won that fight. Those scorecards were a bit wonky. Taking on Jared Gooden. This guy is very explosive. He's got power in his hands. He's got good takedowns. He's not great anywhere, but his power, speed, and athletic ability have afforded him success in the UFC. He's a very dangerous guy who has had an unfortunate run, though. He was cut from the UFC in 2021 after going 1-3. Then he went 4-1 in the regional scene. He did get back to the UFC, and now he's 1-1 in this stint. He's coming off that underdog win over Wellington Turman, where the power and athleticism were on full display. And while I'm happy for Jared Gooden for working his way back to the UFC, that's the goal, right? You get cut, you grind, you get your wins, you get your experience, and you come back. I just don't know how successful he's going to be in this fight because Chidi and Njokuani should dominate. If he threw with more volume, I'd be all over him. A slow start, though, could be an issue because of how powerful and how dangerous Jared is early. I'm still going Chidi. I think he is safe, but I'm going to be biting my nails for the first 5 minutes. Like, Chidi just standing there, not throwing, is going to be nerve-wracking with Jared Gooden just rushing across, bombing away. And guys, by now you should know all the promos and the plugs, but here's the affiliate plug. We've got a couple of sportsbook affiliates. If you go to wewantpicks.com/bets, you can see them. They all offer their own ups and downs, right? BetOnline is by far the best sportsbook for betting on MMA. It's not even close. But they don't let you cash out of parlays, and their parlays are actually pretty limited. You're going to get more props than anybody else has, and the earliest lines every week. I don't see this line. Where'd you get it? BetOnline. Check. They always have it. BetOnline. BetUS has the best customer service in this space. Not even close. My bookie's more flexible than anybody else. They let you cash out of parlays. You can parlay anything. So check out all the sportsbook affiliates, and if you use one of the links to sign up and make your account, we send you $50. It's affiliate marketing. They're going to pay me. I'm going to slice off some of that money, and I'm going to give it right back to you. The amount of requests we've gotten over the last couple of weeks have been wild. If you're watching this and you submitted your $50 request and you didn't get it, submit it again. Do me the favor. Submit it again. We'll take a look. We're drowning trying to keep up with the requests that have come in. But wewantpicks.com/bets. If you're not a premium member, please become one. For shit's sake, what else do I need to do? What do I need to do? I went 11-1 at UFC 307. A 29% return on investment for every single bet I put on the board. But it's not like I've had a shit year and then I had one good card and I'm going to stand on that mountain. 6 of the last 7 cards were pretty similar to that. Up money 6 of the last 7 cards. And if you're some negative Nancy ass clown, dick whistle, cheese pocket living in his mother's basement and you're going to comment, but you lost 3 safety parlays. You're fucking blocked from the channel. Eat shit. I'm up money 6 of the last 7 cards. You're going to focus on one bet that missed? Go fold some sheets and make your mother breakfast, you loser dork. WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member. But it's not even just the picks and the bets or the artificial intelligence or the DraftKings optimizer. We have a whole suite of tools that help you do your own research. I know a bunch of you watch this for the insight, for the info. And then you're going to I'm part of the research equation. You probably watch 30 shows and you're like, God damn, Angelo's the best one out here. But I'll still watch these other weirdos with the Tapology background bullshit. That's fine. That's fine. I get it. World needs janitors too. Anyway, Data Analyzer, quite literally the greatest research tool on this planet in this space. It's not even close. It's literally not even close. This tool has everything you could ever imagine, and then you can interact with that data and then watch the fights themselves. If you're a research guy, I mean, literally everything you could ever imagine. And if it's missing something you want, let us know. We designed this. We coded it from the ground up so we can add to it. Just need some ideas. And here's the 4 cards you'll get if you sign up for premium membership today. 2 really good Vegas fight nights, a Canada fight night, and UFC 308, which is a spectacular pay-per-view. WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member. It's freaking $10. It's also just a great way to support us and what we're doing here. And finally, here's the address if you want to send something for mail day. We'll read the letters, we'll eat the food, we'll open the things. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this main card. And opening up the main card, we have future world champion Josh Fremd. Future 2-division world champion Josh Fremd. Future Hall of Famer Josh Fremd. And he's watching this fucking cringing right now because he watches and he comments after. Nice research, dummy. After he beat SD Dumas. Great win, pal. Anyway, we got Josh Fremd taking on Abdul Razak. I'm about to compliment you, Josh. Relax. Hey, we're having some fun on a Sunday morning. You'll get your compliments. He's taking on Abdul Razak Alhassan. This actually could be very interesting. We'll start with Josh. He is a grappler. He's got solid athleticism, sneaky power in his punches. When he can initiate the grappling exchanges, he does really well. When he can't, though, when he can't push that grappling agenda, he can look a little bit lost. He's got cardio, which he can control. That's phenomenal. He's got speed. He's got power. He's well-rounded enough to make adjustments wherever the fight goes. He has no true martial arts background in any specific discipline. He didn't grow up doing one thing. And he is coming off that insanely boring loss to Andre Petroski, which is not Josh's fault. That fight was boring. I mean, Andre Petroski is a high-level wrestler. And if you can't get up, you can't get up. That's Andre's fault. But he's going to be in for it because he's taking on Abdul Razak Alhassan. This guy's a powerful striker. He does tend to headhunt and look for a knockout, but he's actually a high-level judo practitioner. He just fell in love with his striking and power, so he sort of stuck with that. He's an incredibly talented guy, but doesn't use all of his talents. He's been a bit inconsistent. He's coming off that no contest with Cody Brundage, where he had early success, but an illegal strike forced a no contest in a very Cody Durden-esque situation. Versions of MMA, versions of mixed martial arts have been around forever, right? We had Pancrase, Valley Tuda. Like, versions of MMA have been around for a very long time. But the UFC made it popular. It made it a career path. It turned it into a professional sport at a grand scale about 30 years ago. And while that's not an enormous amount of time for a sport, it is long enough to see an evolution with our own eyes. People like me who have seen every single event ever have seen an evolution. Gone are the days where a fighter only knew one single thing. Now we have an entire generation of fighters who don't have a specific background. They're good everywhere. They can do all the things in a fight. Josh Fremd is one of those guys. He didn't start as a wrestler or as a boxer. He started as an MMA fighter. And sometimes that's great, but it can also be a curse. And unfortunately for Josh in this fight, I think it's a bit of a curse. There's no backup plan. He has no lifelong base to rely on, right? There's no college wrestling to bail him out or national kickboxing title to scare his opponents. He's just busy and he moves forward and he's tough. And if you're a guy like Abdul who can knock you out, who can throw you with judo, who can work on the ground, there's not one thing you need to worry about. It's not, all right, if I keep my... There's none of that. Abdul can do what he wants to do. So Abdul Razak Alhassan is going to be the pick, and I bet on him at minus 155. I do think those odds are going to widen. Because Abdul Razak Alhassan at only 30 years old is the exact type of guy that all of a sudden is going to come into his own and look better and better. And all of a sudden we're going to be like, holy shit, how good is this guy? And I think this is going to be somewhat of a showcase fight. Then we have Daniel Rodriguez taking on Alex Morono. This is going to be an interesting fight to break down because one of these gentlemen is wildly talented and also wildly inconsistent. And it's not Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez is a very good boxer. He picks his shots really well. Good takedown defense, but not much to offer in the grappling department. His boxing is crisp, and when he is not worried about the takedowns, he lets his hands go and he looks phenomenal when he hits a rhythm. But when he is worried about the takedowns, he tends to fade later in the fight. I don't know if he's just too tense or whatever it is, but if there's a takedown or two mixed in, this guy gasses. He is coming off that decision loss to Kelvin Gastelum, where he actually looked really good, but there's just, I mean, you can't win a fight punching a cement wall. Kelvin Gastelum's head is made of something that's non-human. And before I dive into Alex Morono's skills, which he does have, let me caveat everything I'm about to say with this guy is wildly unreliable and inconsistent. The skills are there. He is a well-rounded guy. He has effective striking, effective grappling, wildly underappreciated grappling. But he can get wild. He uses that awkward style to keep his opponents out of rhythm, but he is wild. He does weird things. He's a high-level black belt, but doesn't use his wrestling as often as he should. He does, however, do a very nice job working in takedowns if he is in some trouble. He's coming off that upset loss to Niko Price where he could not defend the takedowns. The UFC is contractually obligated to offer every single fighter 3 fights a year. So when you get to the back end of the year, the last quarter, which is where we are now, you start to get the cleanup fights. The fights that are just sort of slapped together to meet those contractual obligations. And they have to do that for 700 plus fighters on the roster. This is one of those fights. It's a weird matchup, but I like it. And it's not terrible. This is a good matchup in like, all right, we got some name recognition. We got a couple of guys that let's find out where they are, where they're going. But both of them are on struggle streak, which means the UFC's either looking to get rid of one of them or just, hey, yeah, you both need fights. Here you go. It's not a terrible matchup. One of these guys will win and be back on track. Alex Morono is overall the better fighter. He's also someone who can never, ever be trusted with your money. The wildly low confidence pick will be Daniel because you just cannot trust Alex Morono. But a plus 3.5 bet might be placed on Alex Morono. If you don't know what that is, you're basically buying points on the judges' scorecards. Every judge has to score every single round 10 or fewer. And if you add all of those up and then you add 3.5, the way that math works out, as long as Alex Morono wins one single round on all three judges' scorecards or better, your bet hits. So while I said earlier I don't bet on people who I think lose, that's correct. But I do place bets that I think will hit. And I do think Alex Morono can win this fight. Certainly if he loses, it's a 29-28, right? He's not going to get shut out. He's not going to get 30-27. He can squeeze out a round, right? So we'll see what those odds are when they drop. Because if that's a plus money bet, I'm going to take it. I think Alex Morono can squeeze out a round. The problem is he's just so freaking inconsistent. You can't touch that money line. Then we have Cory Poppins McKenna taking on Julia Polastri. Cory McKenna is a very well-rounded fighter. She's a ton of fun to watch. She literally does everything. She'll march forward throwing 1-2s. Then she'll back away, stay out of the pocket, throw Superman punches to get back in, throw head kicks to get back in. When she's grappling, she's got good entries and she'll either run right through you like Jordan Burroughs or pick you up and slam you down. She can be hittable. She does need to clean some things up, but she is so tough and so busy that she makes everybody work. She's coming off that very quick submission loss to Jacqueline Amorim where she got the takedown, but she was submitted, basically instantly. That was just poor fight IQ. She's taking on Julia Polastri. Julia Polastri is a very well-rounded fighter. She has slick striking, solid grappling. Her striking technique is clean, plenty of straight punches and kicks. She has power for this division, but she does not chase. She does get taken down pretty easily, but when she's on the ground, she's got solid BJJ. She'll hunt for submissions off her back. She just ended a 4-fight win streak with a decision loss to Josephine Knutson, where the striking and range were just way too much. The wrestling, though, the offensive wrestling of Julia looked fantastic. Now, I'm going to start this off, and you can, pay attention. I'm going to tell you when I'm biased. I'm a sucker for Cory McKenna. Not in like a weird simp, send you a DM, looking beautiful, commenting on looking good. Not like that. Yeah, gorgeous. No, not like that. I love her fighting style. She is aggressive. She's busy. She's not afraid to strike. She's not afraid to grapple. Tons of pressure, a willingness to engage. The problem is the decision-making. She's only 25 years old. The decision-making is the problem, though. Why the hell are you shooting tape? Everybody on this planet, including me and Jakey Boy, were like, if Cory doesn't shoot takedowns, she wins this fight. And within 5 seconds, takedown. And then 2 seconds later, submitted. Jacqueline Amorim is a world champion, gi and no gi. So the decision-making worries me a little bit. But this is a fight where I don't know if she needs to have perfect decision-making. I think if she stays a dog, gets in your face, has the busy takedowns, has the busy striking, stays aggressive, all the fun things that make her good, I think she can win this fight. I will be betting on Cory McKenna. I will be waiting for the plus 3.5. The same bet that I just explained for you in the last fight. And if you're skipping through the chapters and you didn't hear that explanation, well, that's on you. You're going to have to rewind to understand what that is. Cory McKenna is going to be the pick. Guys, I say this every week. People love tracking picks. People love being like, this week, track away, I went 11-1. But people love being like, bro, this is the dumbest comment you'll ever see on anybody's video. They'll go back 6 months. Bro picked Leon Edwards. Are you fucking serious? Every fight card has anywhere from 10 to 15 fights, and you're going to go to one wrong pick months ago? Here's some insight for you. These are real stats. Picking at 70% is wild. If you are consistently, not one card, not only picking the main card, if you are picking entire full cards and you're doing it at 70%, you are one of the best in the world. So yeah, people are going to get picks wrong. The real art to all of this is what I did at UFC 307, avoiding the landmines with the bets. So if you watch these breakdowns, pay attention to the breakdown, understand the level of confidence. Did I just pick Cory McKenna? Yes, I did. Did I say she's going to dominate and you should put your life savings on her? Is this pick equal to the Clayton Carpenter pick that I did earlier? No. They're not equal picks. So the landmine to avoid would be Cory McKenna money line, because who knows what will happen. What I am going to do is probably place, not guarantee, because who knows what the odds are, but if we get good odds, I will probably place a plus 3.5 bet because I think she can win a single round. Context matters when you're breaking down fights. Then we have very punchable face Grant Dawson taking on Rafa Garcia. And this is a tough fight for me to break down because I can't stand Grant Dawson. I absolutely love Rafa Garcia. But I recognize Grant Dawson's skills. So I'm going to do my best to put that shit aside and just break this fight down. Grant Dawson's a grappler. He averages almost 4 takedowns per fight. And that's a low number. That's a good number. He's got great control. He'll get you to the ground and then relentless pressure. Good technical striking, but the clear advantage in almost every single fight is the wrestling and the grappling. His pressure and his willingness to be a crotch-sniffing, boring, destroying the sport wrestler has afforded him quite a bit of success in the UFC. He's coming off that bounce-back win over Joe Selecki, where he had 14 minutes of control time. Do you think that was an exciting fight? Do you think that was a fight where, if you have never seen the sport, let's say, okay, you're a big UFC fan, you're watching this video. You've got to be a big fan if you've taken the time to watch Ben Affleck break down fights for you. You have your friend over. Nah, man, I'm telling you, UFC's the best. Come watch. And you have a card with 3 Grant Dawsons on it. You think your friend ever watches another event? And I know I'm being harsh, and, it's a tricky world because Grant's job is to win fights, and he wins fights. He is 21-2. He wins fights. But it's also entertainment. And my God, is he not entertaining. You know who is entertaining? Rafa Garcia. Very good grappler. Very heavy hands. He's an absolute dog when he fights. And even when he's completely gassed, that guy is moving forward, doing everything he can to try to win. He's very, and in my notes, capital very, V-E-R-Y, dangerous. And while he is a grappler at his core with 7 submission wins, he has legit power in his hands. And a lot of those submissions were set up with the strikes. He's coming off that decision win over an aging Clay Guida. And I think we still all have that unforgivable bad taste in our mouth from last year when Grant Dawson was knocked out by a jab inside of 10 minutes by a 40-year-old. But I need to put that hatred aside. I need to look at the fight and say, God, this is going to be boring and it's going to suck. And if it's a boring fight that Grant Dawson is in, that means Grant Dawson wins. Grant Dawson probably wins this fight. The good news for people who bet on this sport, Grant Dawson is actually great for bets because he's somebody that you can rely on. Outside of that ridiculous loss to Bobby Green, he's somebody you can rely on. He's not a guy that's going to come out here and all of a sudden shoot no takedowns for no reason. He is a guy that will just dive at legs over and over and over again. Rafa Garcia tends to gas, and while he is dangerous and he is swinging and Grant Dawson got knocked out by a dirty look, I still think Grant Dawson wins this fight. You can trust him. So even though I just railroaded him in his fighting style as not being entertaining, I can appreciate the fact that his job is to win fights. It doesn't say in the contract, be entertaining. It says, if you win, you'll make this much money. If you lose, you'll make this much. So he's winning fights. The problem, though, with that style, if he loses a couple of fights, the UFC's not going to, they're just going to buy. Like, why am I spending all my money on you? You don't bring in fans. Sorry, I'm not trying to railroad the guy, especially because my wallet appreciates him for the most part. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. This is a rebooked fight. This is supposed to happen in June, but Jun Park was not cleared at weigh-ins. Fight was canceled, didn't happen. We're going to break it down. We're so far removed from June. Unless this guy had a tumor that had to get cut out of his body, he's fine. And I was picking Brad Tavares before anyway, and I'm still going to. Brad Tavares, a tried and true vet at this weight class. He's 15-9 in the UFC. He's fought pretty much every single former world champion and contender, including the current world champion. He's a solid striker, very good takedown defense at 81%. He's got that Hawaiian fighting spirit. He's not the most dangerous guy in the world, but he is well-rounded, typically pretty durable. He's a little older. He's 36 years old. But he's been through some hell. He has been in some absolute wars. So his cage age. Ooh, cage age. Ooh. Should I buy cageage.com? I don't know what I would do with it, but it's got some bang, cage age. Anyway, that's closer to 45. He is starting to decline. He can still hang, but he is coming off that KO loss to Gregory Rodriguez. He's taking on Jun Park. This guy's a well-rounded fighter. Very nice jab, good cage control, solid setups and takedowns. Pretty good everywhere, but dangerous pretty much nowhere. He doesn't have power to knock anybody out. And while he does have plenty of submission wins, he's typically grinding to decisions. He's got a solid striking differential of around 5-4. He also averages about 2 takedowns per fight, and he has enough cardio to maintain a pace for a full 15 minutes. He's coming off that sloppy fight with Andre Muniz where he gave up, wait for it, 11 takedowns. 11 takedowns he gave up. That was crazy. Bruno Silva knocked him out. Gregory Rodriguez knocked him out. And they both knocked out Brad Tavares in the last 12 months, essentially. His chin is not what it used to be. And I mentioned he's slowing down. But Jun Park isn't that dangerous. He's not Gregory Rodriguez. He's not Bruno Silva. Jun Park is a guy that's going to try to grind and push and work. And he's going to need to get through that 81% takedown defense. He's going to need to get through that significant strike defense. And I don't know he can. He doesn't have the one-punch power to scare Brad. He doesn't have the nasty takedowns to worry him. So I think Brad Tavares wins this fight. I think he defends the takedown. I think he lands clean. I think Brad Tavares, pretty straightforward win here. I think he gets it done. That's it. And then we have the main event of the evening. This is a very good fight. Objectively, a very good fight. This is exactly what you want in a fight night main event, right? You want a fight that matters for the division. You want a fight with a couple of exciting guys that you can't really headline a pay-per-view. But it's pay-per-view worthy type fight. So let's headline a fight night. And that's what we have here. And I love this matchup. You got Brandon Royval, tried and true. You got Tatsuro Taira, who's still relatively untested, but he's super young. He's only 24 years old. Brandon Royval is one of the most exciting guys to watch in the UFC. He's always looking for a finish. He's dangerous on the ground. He's dangerous on his feet. His striking is fast. It's powerful. It's diverse. His grappling is aggressive. He's got tricky submissions. He has a willingness to chase them. He throws crazy. He brings a ton of pressure. He keeps coming forward. Brandon Royval is a problem for a lot of people, and he's coming off one of the best performances we have ever seen from him. He's coming off that win over Brandon Morono where he just never stopped moving, and the pressure was relentless. He's taking on Tatsuro Taira. This guy is still undefeated, 16-0, one of the best flyweight prospects on the planet, only 24 years old, and this is absolutely his biggest test. The good thing with Tatsuro Taira is he has been elevated gradually. Every single fight is against somebody a little tougher, a little more dangerous than the fight before that. And that's what you need to do to build some of these prospects up. It's not a Sean O'Malley situation, and don't start getting all sensitive and let me trigger you in the comments. It's not a Sean O'Malley situation where they kept him away from anybody really good and then rushed him to a title. Sean O'Malley made it to a title without fighting Cory Sandhagen. He basically, the only ranked fighter he fought was a decision that I don't think he won against Petr Yan. Anyway, that's a debate for another day. Tatsuro Taira is working on the correct escalator path, and this is by far his biggest test. Style-wise, he's a patient striker. He's got okay power in his hands, very strong grappling. He doesn't have the best takedowns in the division, but he will stick with them, and he'll drag you to the ground. He's coming off that injury win over Alex Perez, where Alex was having success, but Taira jumping on his back blew out Alex's knee, and that was the end of the fight. And we are going to find out how good Taira is. This is his first, real test. I'm a bit of a Tatsuro Taira hater. I'm going to be honest with you. I felt that he's overrated. I still do. Yeah, he's undefeated, but who did he beat? A couple of guys that are no longer in the UFC. CJ Vergara, which is a decent win. And then Alex Perez, which was an injury, and he lost the first round on all 3 judges' scorecards. He was losing that fight. And then Alex blew out his knee. Royval has 0 quit or stop in him at all. Even in that title loss to Pantoja, he landed more significant strikes despite being taken down 8 times. This guy was taken down 8 times and landed more strikes. I think Royval's pressure, his high-level experience is going to be too much for Taira. My only concern is that Royval's at a new gym. He left his former gym where he had been for years. He started a new one. I think he started. I could be wrong. So now he's got all the complications that come with bringing over teammates. I'm sure there's some bad blood. I'm sure there were some tough conversations to be had. There's a lot of shit. There's a lot on his mind. There's a lot going on. We did just see Alexander Hernandez do pretty well. So hopefully Brandon Royval can do the same. And I think Brandon Royval wins this fight. I bet on him. Plus 170. Those odds were just too good to pass up. I threw a half a unit on my plus 170, and we'll see what the plus 5.5 is. Remember earlier when I broke down plus 3.5, where you buy points on the judges' scorecards? You can do the same thing for a 5-round fight, but you buy 5.5 points instead of 3.5. The math isn't as clean as win 1 round, but he doesn't need to full win 2 rounds either. So I think Brandon Royval, if he loses, it's a very close fight. He has a ton of success. I don't think there's a finish here. And if there is a finish, it's on the Royval side. I don't think Tatsuro Taira is going to finish. How is he going to finish Brandon Royval? Climb on his back and his knee's going to blow out? I'm all over Brandon Royval. I think he gets it done. Guys, that's the breakdown. Before you leave me, let me show you the next 4 cards. These are the 4 cards. If you're not a premium member and you sign up today, you're not just paying $10 for one event. It's for 4 events. It's $2.50 a week. I just went 11-1 on picks. My premium bets just returned a 29% return on your investment, depending on what your unit size is. $2.50 got you that. $2.50 will get you the Moreno Albazi card. It'll get you this card. It'll get you Michelle Pajeda versus Fluffy. It'll get you UFC 308. It's $10 a freaking month. It's a great way to support us, and it's by far the greatest value in this space. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. You're going to unlock things like the Data Analyzer, the greatest research tool ever invented. You're going to get the line movement tracker, giving you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get the Prop Hunter, a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. You're going to get the DraftKings Optimizer preloaded with the best DraftKings projections on the planet. And you're going to get more than me and more than Jakey Boy. Artem is giving you his Dana White Contender Series picks and bets, his PFL picks and bets. The artificial intelligence is giving you its picks based off of historical data, and then we've developed some betting systems around it. Every single thing I just mentioned, a million other things that I didn't mention, $10 for an entire month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. And guys, I want to thank you. We certainly are at 30,000 subscribers at some point, by the way. We're like 10 people away, 20 people away right now. So by the time some of you watch this, we'll hit 30,000. And I don't know how to like sincerely say thank you without it sounding not real. But genuinely, thank you. And there's a lot of bullshit that goes into this. There's a lot of negative Nancy hate watchers. Have you guys seen that meme where it's 2 pictures of an Apple message icon, and the first icon says, on my birthday, and it just shows like 2 unread messages, meaning only 2 people texted that guy on his birthday. And then it says, when my favorite football team loses, and it's 36 unread messages, meaning everybody railroaded this guy. They all reached out to shit on him when he was wrong, but nobody reached out to say happy birthday. That's YouTube. That's YouTube. Anytime we don't have the greatest night of all time, the comments are through the roof. So there's a lot of bullshit that goes into this, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I appreciate every last one of you. The fact that you're watching this on a Sunday morning is crazy. Thank you so much. Genuinely appreciated. And the only way I know how to show the appreciation is to continue to grind. Continue to show up on Sunday mornings to film this, even though I'm exhausted from staying up all night to film the recap video last night. To make sure that Premium, quite literally, has everything you could ever want or need. We sit down. We don't need to do anything. Premium could just be bets at $10, and it would be phenomenal value. But we don't do that. We say, what can I add? How can I make it better? How can I make this so undeniable? We've never raised the price, even though we continue to add things. We never will. And that's genuinely the appreciation. We want Picks.com to become a premium member. If you don't want to be one, no big deal. Like, subscribe, do all the things. I thank every last one of you. Go watch that troll video. It's incredible stuff.